Brad Williams, XL Prime. How about div errors? What are div errors? Well, in short, whenever you try to divide by 0, you're going to run into a div error. When a formula attempts to divide by 0, or a value that is equivalent to 0, you're going to get this div error. What do I mean? B6 divided by C6. What happens when you try to divide 12 into 0? You're going to get a div error. And then when you try to sum it up, guess what happens? You get a div error. Happens all the time. In other words, there's a blank there, and there's no way to divide 12 by blank. You can even put a 0 here, and you're still going to get a div error. What's 12 divided by 0? It's a div error. Okay, put a 1 in there, and you're going to get a different response. The div errors, there's really no issue there. It's just a matter of going in and correcting that mistake because you're in a hurry, typically. Or you're trying to put together a super complex calculation and there's just a mathematical error. And they're good and bad. They're good because if you're experimenting, logically you're thinking, okay, this is my idea. And so you start typing stuff in and then you get this div error. Well, you're dividing and the equivalent of a 0 crashes the deal. When a formula attempts to divide by 0 value that is equivalent to 0, the div error occurs. Although a div error is caused by an attempt to divide by 0, it can also occur in other formulas that reference cells displaying the div error. Okay, right here, we have a div error because we're running into the div error. The best method for avoiding div errors is to ensure that the data is complete. If you encounter an unanticipated div error, verify the following. All cells used by the formula contain valid information. There are no blank cells used to divide other values. That's what we're running into here. Formula reference cells do not already display div errors. Again, there's the other example. Div errors are caused by blank cells. Keep in mind, we have that count blank deal, but if you try to do anything within that blank, you may run into this div error. Well, when the number of matching values is 0, all 3 functions can return a div error. This is due to the fact that the standard formula for calculating averages is sum divided by count, and count can occasionally be 0. For instance, if you attempt to calculate the average of a list of cells containing only text values, the average function will return the div error because there are no numerical values to average. Average ifs, you can read this, it pretty much says the same thing over. How do you check? To check if C6 has a value and cancels the calculation, if it does, you can use the if. So if C6 is equal to blank, otherwise B6 divided by 6. If C6 is blank, display nothing, all right? That's just a sort of the if error. Same thing, you can insert this if error. If B6 divided by 6 is blank, nothing is displayed if C6 is empty. If you wish to display a message when you encounter div error, again, I've shown you this a number of times. If there's a crash here, B6 divided by 6, enter machine number. There's an overview of the div error. You're going to run into it from time to time. Just understand that you're trying to divide by 0, and the causes could be a blank cell or text or a 0 or a whole host of other areas. Brad Williams, XL Prime.